When artificial intelligence can perfectly mimic an artist's vocal cords, when it can spin up a fully arranged backing track in the time it takes you to pour a cup of coffee, what exactly becomes the role of the human being in the studio?
Right. It's a huge question.
Think about that for a second. We've spent, the last few decades grappling with the idea of machines taking over logistics or crunching massive data sets or driving our cars.
Yeah, the purely mechanical stuff.
Exactly. There was always this comforting, unspoken assumption that the messy, soul-bearing stuff like poetry, music, the raw expression of human experience was safe. We built this conceptual wall around art.
Which is completely coming down now.
Totally. But what happens when the machine isn't just generating spreadsheets, but is actually singing your own lyrics back to you in your own voice with a terrifying level of technical perfection?
It's wild to even think about.
Welcome to this deep dive. We are thrilled to have you joining us because today we are going somewhere that fundamentally challenges our understanding of the creative process.
We really are. We're crossing a threshold where the algorithm is no longer just, a fancy calculator or a digital tape recorder. It has become an active, sometimes even adversarial collaborator.
Right.
And the questions this raises aren't just about copyright or industry economics. They are deeply philosophical questions about where the soul of a piece of music actually lives.
And the source material we are pulling from today gives us this unprecedented, incredibly intimate look at exactly this collision. We are working with some really fascinating excerpts from EeL Podcast, vol.02, which basically pulls back the curtain on the Japanese music group EeL.
Yeah, the level of transparency they share is just incredible.
It really is. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore this wild, contradictory intersection. We're going to look at their cutting-edge AI music production workflow, trace the profound emotional vulnerability hidden in their tracks, and examine the surprisingly ordinary, fiercely mundane daily routines that keep these artists from floating off into the digital ether.
The contrast there is just so good.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can understand the emotional core of EeL's music, we really have to deconstruct the bizarre, futuristic way they are actually building their new tracks.
Yeah, the workflow that producer Maeda and the rest of the group have engineered is honestly a masterclass in treating artificial intelligence not as a replacement, but as a deeply flawed, highly provocative sparring partner.
A sparring partner, I like it.
Exactly. Let's look at the foundational step Maeda took. He utilized an AI service called Ace Studio. But he didn't just use, generic vocal models off the shelf.
Right, he got incredibly specific.
He trained the model using past vocal data entirely specific to EeL. He took the isolated vocal stems from EeL's previous album, For Common People, and fed that historical, raw human performance data directly into the machine.
Wow.
So he effectively created a bespoke, highly accurate AI version of EeL.
They captured a literal digital ghost of their lead singer. And, consider the psychological weight of that for a second.
Not that heavy.
The machine isn't just mimicking a human, it's mimicking her. Specifically capturing the microtimbres, the breath patterns, and the vocal cord resonances of who she was during the recording of that specific album.
It's a sonic time capsule, really.
But the crucial detail here is how they actually deploy this digital clone. This AI voice is used exclusively for their demo tracks. It is a highly advanced placeholder.
Right, just a placeholder.
When the final album goes out into the world, it will feature EeL's actual, physical, present-day human vocals.
That distinction is paramount. They're using the AI to iterate, to sketch, to hear what the painting looks like before they commit to the actual canvas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the vocal cloning is merely the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
The broader production workflow they detail on the podcast is this absolute labyrinth of human-machine interaction.
Let me walk you through the sequence they use because it honestly sounds like an architectural heist.
That's a great way to put it.
First, band member Sando creates a starting point, like a basic guitar and vocal demo. He strums the chords, establishes the melody, lays down the human foundation.
The seed, basically.
Exactly. Then they take that human seed and drop it into a completely different AI tool called Suno, which specializes in generating full musical arrangements.
And Suno is incredibly powerful for this kind of thing.
Right. So the algorithm analyzes Sando's progression and spits out a fully produced backing track.
And this is where the curatorial mind of the band really takes over. Suno, like a lot of transformer-based audio models, tends to generate arrangements based on statistical likelihood.
What do you mean by statistical likelihood?
Well, it analyzes the guitar demo and calculates the most mathematically probable drum beat, the most mathematically probable bass line, based on the millions of songs in its massive training data. It gives you the average.
Which is exactly why they reject it. They listen to the Suno arrangement, analyze what the AI suggested, and then literally throw the entire thing in the digital trash.
That's amazing.
They then shift gears back to Ace Studio, the software housing the cloned EeL voice, and construct an entirely new arrangement there, dropping in the AI EeL vocals to hear how her cloned voice interacts with this new instrumental environment.
They are essentially forcing the AI to audition for them, rejecting its first pass, and using multiple proprietary engines to build this complex, multi-layered digital demo.
But the next step is where the process crosses from like standard modern digital production into something deeply avant-garde.
Oh yeah, this is the craziest part.
Once they have this fully realized AI-generated, AI-sung digital track, they don't just hit export.
No, that would be too easy.
Right. They take the final mixed audio, the stereo 2 mix, and run it through yet another piece of software designed for stem separation.
They force an algorithm to rip the AI's fully baked song back apart into its constituent parts.
Yes. Isolating the kick drum, extracting the bass, peeling away the synthesizers. They shatter the AI's panting back into individual colors.
And then, the human members manually reprogram and replay those extracted stems from scratch.
I've been trying to wrap my head around the sheer labor of this. It's like having a robot architect build a magnificent Lego castle, only for the humans to dismantle it block by block, study the robot's blueprint, and build the exact same castle again by hand.
What's fascinating here is the absolute insistence on human execution when an automated finish line is sitting right in front of them.
Exactly. Why do all that extra work?
Because in the modern music industry, efficiency is often worshipped, right?
Yeah.
If an algorithm hands you a polished, mix-ready arrangement, the temptation to simply publish it is immense.
Oh, absolutely.
But Maida and Sando are deliberately choosing the path of most resistance. To understand why, we have to look closely at the physics of stem separation and the acoustic reality of a human actually playing an instrument.
Break that down for us.
Well, when you use algorithmic stem separation, the math is never perfect. The software uses complex phase cancellation and spectral analysis to try and guess where the bass frequency ends and the kick drum begins, but it invariably leaves artifacts.
Right, the audio gets this weird underwater kind of metallic warble to it.
Exactly, because frequencies naturally overlap. A machine can't perfectly separate the high hiss of a snare drum from the high hiss of a vocal consonant.
So they can't just use the extracted audio anyway.
Precisely. By utilizing this messy extraction process, they are scraping the ideas off the AI, not the audio itself.
Oh, the ideas.
Yeah. The AI might have hallucinated a bizarre syncopation, a stuttering hi-hat pattern, or a counter-melody that no human trained in standard music theory would naturally write.
It gives them something alien.
Exactly. The algorithm provides the alien ideation. It breaks the humans out of their habitual songwriting ruts. But by insisting on manually replaying those parts on their own synthesizers and drum machines, they are injecting something the AI completely lacks, which is organic groove.
Let me push back on this, though. Let's look at Sando physically playing a bass line that the algorithm composed.
Okay.
If he's just learning the notes the machine spit out and hitting the keys in the exact order the AI dictated, aren't they just acting as human printers?
That's a fair question.
I mean, where is the actual human artistry in that specific phase? We don't call a CNC router an artist just because it's the thing physically cutting the wood. If they are subordinate to the algorithm's melodic blueprint, isn't the AI the true artist here?
That is the essential philosophical tension of this entire experiment, honestly. But I would argue it relies on a misunderstanding of where the art actually lives in modern electronic music.
How so?
It looks like subordination, sure, but it is actually a high-level form of curation and physical interpretation. Think of a classical orchestra.
Okay, an orchestra.
The cellist did not write the symphony, right?
Hey.
Beethoven did. The cellist is technically subordinate to the sheet music.
Right, they have to play what's on the page.
But the cellist controls the bow weight, the vibrato, the micro-timing of the downbeat. In EeL's workflow, the AI is acting as the composer, throwing complex sheet music at the band.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The artistry shifts from generating the sequence of notes to the curation, deciding which of the AI's bizarre ideas to keep and which to discard, and then the physical interpretation of actually playing it.
Right, the human touch.
When Sando hits a key on a synthesizer, human biomechanics introduce micro-imperfections. He might rush the downbeat by 3 milliseconds. He might drag the snare slightly behind the grid.
And the AI would be perfectly on the grid.
Exactly. That microscopic deviation from perfect mathematical time is what the human ear actually perceives as feel or groove. The AI provides the map, but the humans actually walk the terrain, and their footsteps are inherently imperfect.
You're saying the human flaw is the secret ingredient.
Absolutely.
The AI writes a perfectly quantized sequence, and the human replaying it introduces the necessary friction. That really reframes the entire process. They aren't human printers, they are translators converting cold math back into human muscle memory.
That's a perfect way to phrase it.
Which brings us to a massive revelation they had during this iterative process. If the humans are spending all this time trying to manually mimic and humanize the AI's musical arrangement, what happens when the AI tries to mimic the human's emotion?
This is where the workflow collides with a profound psychological barrier.
According to the podcast excerpts, when the real human EeL listened back to the demo track sung by her AI EeL clone, she immediately noticed something jarring.
What did she hear?
She pointed out that the algorithm was singing, in her words, too passionately. The AI was over-singing.
Over-singing? That is so fascinating.
It was delivering this massive, dramatic, theatrical vocal performance. EeL stated outright that when it comes time to record the actual final vocals, she's going to have to change the nuance entirely. She has to pull the emotion way back.
This perfectly illustrates a fascinating evolution of the uncanny valley,
Explain that, because we usually think of the uncanny valley as something creepy.
Right. Historically, we expect the uncanny valley to manifest as something cold, calculating, and robotic. We expect HAL 9000.
Exactly, the emotionless machine.
But in the realm of advanced machine learning models trained on audio, the uncanny valley often manifests as emotional oversaturation. The machine is trying way too hard to convince you it has a soul.
But wait, if Maida trained the ACE Studio model specifically on EeL's past vocals from the For Common People album, shouldn't the algorithm perfectly match her historical emotional baseline?
You would think so, yeah.
Why is it suddenly acting like it's auditioning for a Broadway musical?
Because even bespoke, fine-tuned AI models are built on top of massive foundational data sets. These foundational models have analyzed millions of hours of global pop music to understand what a human voice generally is.
Oh, I see. It has a bias.
Huge bias. In the vast statistical landscape of recorded music, good singing is overwhelmingly correlated with high volume, wide vibrato, belting, and intense dynamic peaks.
So it's confusing passion with volume.
Yes. The algorithm equates emotional resonance with acoustic intensity. It measures passion in decibels and pitch variance. When tasked with rendering a vocal, the AI looks at its parameters and decides to maximize the passion metric because, statistically, that's what human audiences reward.
That makes so much sense.
What the algorithm fundamentally lacks is the capacity for restraint. It cannot comprehend the context of the lyrics, nor can it understand that a whispered, detached, almost apathetic vocal delivery can carry 10 times the devastating emotional weight of a full-throated scream.
Right.
Restraint is a profoundly human editorial choice.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because you have to look at the instrumental landscape they are building to house these vocals.
The backing tracks, right?
Yeah. The sources reveal that Maida is currently working on a track for the new project, and he is meticulously engineering a modern, but distinctly 80s pico-pico sound.
Ah, pico-pico.
For anyone listening who isn't familiar, pico-pico refers to that iconic chiptune synth-pop early video game aesthetic. We are talking about pure square waves, sawtooth waves, pulse width modulation.
The sound of the arcade.
Exactly. It is a sound palette built on the mathematical rigidity of early microchips.
It is the sound of early digital logic. It is inherently mechanical, staccato, and honestly emotionally sterile by design.
Consider the brilliant multi-layered contrast they are engineering here. You have the actual machine, the AI voice clone, attempting to sing with all this bursting, weeping, statistically optimized human passion.
And the humans look at that and totally reject it.
They mandate that the final vocal must be pulled back. So the final product will feature cold, retro, synthetic 80s pico-pico synths paired with highly nuanced, restrained, almost detached human vocals.
The human is intentionally acting more mechanical, while the machine is desperately trying to act more emotional.
It's a complete role reversal. Sando's demo is undergoing a similar evolution too. It started as a simple slow rock or pop track, but he felt the tempo was dragging, so he is actively brushing it up with electric elements, pushing it further into that rigid, synthesized driving space.
It is a deliberate, highly sophisticated aesthetic juxtaposition. By rejecting the AI's simulated passion, EeL is reclaiming the right to emotional subtlety.
Reclaiming the right, I love that.
She is asserting that true artistry isn't about maximizing an output variable. It's about knowing exactly what to withhold.
Yeah.
In the podcast, she actually jokes about the AI stealing her job, specifically noting that an algorithm could easily handle backing choruses and harmony.
Right, the technical stuff.
But her tone remains totally positive. She views it purely as a creative arrangement tool. She isn't threatened by the AI's massive display of passion because she recognizes it for what it is. A parlor trick.
A parlor trick.
It is complex calculus wearing a mask of human suffering.
The machine doesn't actually possess a nervous system. It doesn't know the physical weight of sadness, you know. It only knows the acoustic waveform of a sob.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the absolute core of EeL's musical identity. The reason the AI's overly passionate singing fails so spectacularly is because the algorithm fundamentally misunderstands the band's psychological baseline.
It missed the memo on who they are.
Totally. To truly understand the nuance the AI missed, we have to look back at their previous work.
The discussion surrounding their past album, Little Prince, serves as a vital Rosetta Stone for interpreting their entire artistic philosophy.
Yes, Little Prince.
It reveals the engine of cognitive dissonance that really drives their music.
The podcast highlights a moment where a listener writes in with an incredibly astute observation about the Little Prince album. The listener points out that the sonic landscape of the album is highly danceable.
Like club-ready beats.
Yeah, the tempos are upbeat, the rhythms make you want to move, the synths are super energetic. But when you strip away the beat and actually read the lyrics, they are deeply sad, heartbreaking, and heavy.
It's a massive contradiction.
It is. And EeL's response to this listener is startlingly raw. She doesn't shy away from the observation. She analyzes it and states that the album is a direct reflection of her own internal darkness.
She owns it completely.
She specifically frames this darkness using the word moratorium. She describes being in a psychological state of moratorium, a feeling of profound lethargy, a suspension of motivation.
And producer Maida instantly corroborates this. He notes that EeL is not a naturally bright or conventionally upbeat person, and he confirms that they intentionally, systematically inject this sadness into their soundscapes.
It's all on purpose.
This is not an accidental byproduct of their songwriting. It is a highly engineered emotional architecture. They are masters of the psychology of the sad bop.
Sad bop. We've all experienced it, but it's really rare to hear artists deconstruct it so clinically.
The sad bop is essentially an exercise in weaponized cognitive dissonance.
Weaponized cognitive dissonance. Okay, break that down for us.
To understand why it works and why EeL relies on it, we have to deeply analyze the Japanese concept of moratorium, as she uses it here.
Because it's different from the Western definition, right?
Very much so. In Western developmental psychology, a psychosocial moratorium often refers to a necessary gap, like a student taking a year off to find themselves before entering the workforce.
A gap year, basically.
Right. But in modern Japanese cultural shorthand, particularly in artistic circles, moratorium carries a much heavier, almost suffocating weight. It is adjacent to the feelings of the hikikomori phenomenon, though perhaps less extreme.
Like social withdrawal.
Yes. It is the acute sensation of being stalled. It is the feeling of society, capitalism, and time accelerating past your window while you remain pinned to the floor of your apartment by an invisible gravity. It is the profound draining of drive.
It's an exhaustion of the spirit, which is the absolute antithesis of the energetic, high-volume passion the AI was trying to inject into the demo.
Exactly. And the genius of EeL's production is how they deliver that lethargy to the listener.
How do they do it without bumming everyone out?
Well, if you write a song about profound lethargy and set it to a slow, dirge-like acoustic guitar, the listener might simply reject it. It's too heavy. It requires too much emotional labor to consume.
Yeah, you just skip the track.
But if you take that exact same bleak feeling of being stalled in life and you wrap it in an upbeat 120 beats per minute tempo with driving pico-pico synths, the music acts as a Trojan horse.
A Trojan horse? That makes so much sense.
The driving kick drum bypasses your emotional defenses. Your nervous system responds to the tempo. You start tapping your foot. Your brain releases the endorphins associated with physical movement.
And then they get you.
And then, once your physical guard is down, the devastating lyrics slip past the gates. The energetic instrumental provides the physical stamina necessary for the listener to process the emotional exhaustion contained in the vocals.
The physical stamina to process emotional exhaustion. Think about that for a second. Think about your own playlists, you listening at home.
We all have them.
I bet you have a handful of songs that you've blasted in your car, songs you've danced to at weddings where you were completely oblivious to the lyrical content for years.
Absolutely.
And then one day you actually read the liner notes or look up the lyrics and you realize you've been aggressively dancing to a story about devastating grief or isolation. It happens constantly.
Yeah by Outkast is a classic example.
Exactly. But imagine an algorithm trying to reverse engineer that specific human experience. To construct a genuine sad bop, you need embodied cognition.
You have to have a body.
You need a physical body that understands what it feels like to desperately want to dance, but to be too paralyzed by depression to actually get out of bed. An AI can mathematically pair a major seventh chord with a word tagged as sad in its database, but it cannot comprehend the crushing physical weight of that contradiction.
It lacks the biological hardware to experience moratorium. An AI does not get tired. It does not feel the existential dread of time passing.
Right, time means nothing to it.
Therefore, any attempt by the AI to perform that emotion is inherently a pantomime. This is the fundamental reason EeL must discard the AI's vocal performance. The AI is merely performing the acoustics of the song. EeL is inhabiting the psychological architecture of the song.
Which grounds their avant-garde workflow in something beautifully human. But it begs a massive question.
What's that?
We are talking about artists who spend their waking hours swimming in incredibly abstract, heavy concepts. They are training neural networks on their historical selves, meticulously reverse engineering AI-generated stem files, isolating digital artifacts, and confronting their own deep-seated psychological lethargy to write dance music.
It sounds exhausting.
How do they not just lose their minds? How do they avoid floating away into the digital void? How do you stay tethered to reality when your day job is negotiating with algorithms about the nature of your soul?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we find that the anchor preventing them from drifting into the digital abyss is their fierce devotion to the ordinary.
The ordinary.
Yeah. The final segments of the podcast excerpts provide a brilliant psychological profile of the band, constructed entirely from their mundane realities, their musical roots, and their highly specific daily routines.
I found this part of the material so refreshing. It is a severe whiplash going from, we cloned my vocal cords to create a digital ghost, to, I am heavily invested in my local tennis school.
It's hilarious, honestly.
Yeah. Let's dive into these roots because they reveal the true foundation of the band. In the podcast, they discuss their best number one song in their heart, the musical bedrock that defines them.
Their foundational inspirations.
Right. For producer Maeda, the architect of this complex AI workflow, his ultimate song is Amegari no Yazora ni by the legendary Japanese band RC Succession.
And that is not a polished electronic pop song.
Not at all. RC Succession is gritty, soulful, raw, countercultural rock and roll. And Sando, the guy manually replaying AI stem files on synthesizers, cites his number one song as Tame by the Pixies.
The Pixies.
The absolute pioneers of the loud, quiet, loud dynamic. A band famous for their unpolished, screaming, chaotic, deeply human guitar noise.
The contrast is startling, but highly revealing. The minds designing this hyper-digitized, retro-synthetic 80s pop landscape are fundamentally rooted in raw, messy, analog guitar rock.
It's such a weird mix.
They're importing the ethos of the Pixies into the workflow of an AI laboratory.
And EeL herself drops an incredible detail. She is the voice of the band, the one whose identity is being cloned and analyzed. But she reveals that outside of singing, her true desire is to play the drums or the bass.
The rhythm section.
And she explains exactly why she is drawn to those specific instruments, because rhythm is paramount, and mistakes are absolutely not allowed. You have to be locked to the grid.
There's no hiding on the bass or drums.
But she casually admits she hasn't picked up the sticks or the bass yet because her schedule is completely consumed by her current obsession, which is tennis.
Tennis, a sport entirely defined by geometric constraints and physical physics.
Yes. She restarted playing tennis after a 10-year gap, and she is so thoroughly obsessed that she actively attends a tennis school. That is where her mental energy goes when she isn't in the studio.
That is just amazing.
And the other members have equally specific grounding habits. Producer Maeda openly talks about how he spends his downtime binge-watching Japanese dramas on Netflix, specifically calling out a show called Reborn.
So normal.
Right. And then we have Sando. Sando is a man of deep, idiosyncratic passions. The podcast details his deep love for hot springs.
He loves his hot springs.
He talks about a recent trip to Noburibetsu Onsen, and the way he describes the geology of the place is incredibly evocative. He praises Noborobetsu as a department store of hot springs.
A department store of hot springs.
He uses that specific phrase because the area boasts multiple different mineral sources like sulfur, iron, salt, all bubbling up and flowing into one centralized location.
That phrase, a department store of hot springs, is perhaps the most potent metaphor in the entire deep dive for understanding how EeL functions as a creative unit.
I completely agree, but Sando's routines get even more granular.
Oh, wait till you hear this.
Beyond his appreciation for geothermal geology, he is a massive fan of comedy. He reveals that he has watched the YouTube channel Jaru Jaru Tower every single day, without a single exception, for over 5 years.
Every single day.
Let that sink in. 5 years of uninterrupted daily viewership of a Japanese comedy duo known for their absurdist, repetitive sketches.
The psychological discipline required to maintain a 5-year daily streak of anything is staggering.
Right. I can barely keep a streak on a language app for a week.
But let's analyze Sando's observation about the Noborobetsu onsen. When he marvels at the department store of hot springs, where multiple different geological sources flow into one basin, he is unconsciously describing the architecture of his own band.
Wait, how so?
Think about the myriad sources flowing into EeL's new project. You have a tributary of cutting-edge, transformer-based artificial intelligence. You have a tributary of cold, rigid, 1980s pulse-width modulation synthesizers.
Okay, yeah.
You have a tributary of raw, alternative rock ethos inherited from the Pixies and RC Succession. And you have a deep subterranean spring of psychological moratorium and human lethargy.
All flowing together.
All of these fiercely disparate, contradicting sources are pooling together into one unified sonic environment. The band, EeL, is a musical Noborobetsu onsen.
That is an incredible way to frame it, the synthesis of contradictions. But I can't help but laugh at the sheer juxtaposition of their domestic lives against their avant-garde art.
It's pretty funny.
Here is a collective pushing the absolute bleeding edge of digital music production training neural networks, negotiating the uncanny valley of simulated emotion, tearing apart algorithmic stem files. But their actual physical bodies are grounded by taking topspin lessons at the local tennis courts, sitting on the couch watching Netflix dramas, and religiously logging onto YouTube to watch absurdist comedy sketches for half a decade.
Those routines are survival mechanisms.
Survival mechanisms.
Yeah, when your artistic practice requires you to stare into the abyss of your own lethargy and collaborate with artificial intelligence that can clone your identity in seconds, you desperately need an anchor.
Something to hold on to.
You need the predictable, unyielding geometry of a tennis court to remind you of physical reality. You need the reliable, daily cadence of a 5-year YouTube streak to provide structure when the infinite possibilities of the digital realm threaten to overwhelm you.
Consider EeL's deep desire to play the drums or the bass, specifically because mistakes aren't allowed. That hit me hard. She is craving strict, unforgiving physical discipline.
Yes.
Think about the limitless, elastic nature of the AI workflow she operates in every day. Inside Ace Studio or Suno, there are no real mistakes.
Not at all.
If an arrangement fails, you just hit a button and generate a new one. If the vocal pitch is off, you edit the MIDI curve. It takes zero physical toll. The possibilities are infinite, and failure has no physical consequence.
It's all just data.
I think her human spirit is subconsciously rebelling against that infinite elasticity. She is craving the absolute, unforgiving reality of striking a snare drum on the downbeat. If your stick misses the skin, the moment is gone. You can't hit Ctrl Z on physical reality.
That is a profound insight. The infinite potential of algorithmic generation often induces a type of creative vertigo.
Creative vertigo, that makes perfect sense.
When a machine allows you to create anything, instantly, the sheer volume of choice becomes paralyzing. The strictness of the rhythmic grid and drumming, the white lines painted on the tennis court, these are self-imposed limitations.
Right.
The human mind requires rigid limitations to feel secure enough to take creative leaps. EeL needs the physical boundary to push against, because the AI offers no boundaries at all.
And speaking of how humans navigate boundaries in relationships, the podcast material ends with this wonderfully specific Japanese cultural touchstone blood type personality theory, or Ketsuiki Gata.
Oh, this part is so good.
For anyone listening who isn't familiar with this, in Japan, blood types are widely discussed in a way very similar to how astrological signs are discussed in the West.
Like being a Gemini or a Scorpio.
Exactly. There is a deeply ingrained cultural belief that your blood type dictates your core personality traits and your interpersonal compatibility. In the podcast, they analyze the band's internal dynamics through this exact lens.
What did they find?
Producer Maida and Sando are both type A. In this cultural framework, Type A individuals are generally categorized as earnest, highly methodical, responsible, detail-oriented, and perhaps a bit stubborn.
Which perfectly matches guys who manually reverse engineer AI stems.
Totally. And EeL, the lead singer, is Type O, which is traditionally stereotyped as easygoing, resilient, pragmatic, and romantic.
It instantly provides their local audience with a recognizable shorthand for the band's operational dynamic.
Right.
You have the methodical, detail-obsessed producers meticulously reverse engineering AI stems, frailing the easygoing, romantic lead singer who is navigating her own moratorium.
But the podcast reveals a hilarious contradiction in their social ecosystem. EeL openly states that she really prefers to be around serious, methodical, Type A people. She likes that grounded energy.
So she's happy with her producers.
But curiously, both Maida and Sanda lament that despite being Type A themselves, they somehow constantly find themselves surrounded by Type B people.
The wild cards.
Right. In this blood type ecosystem, Type B individuals are notoriously stereotyped as the eccentric, highly individualistic, unpredictable rule breakers. So you have these two hyper-methodical producers who act as magnets for eccentric chaos, while their singer just wants to hang out with serious people.
It paints this charming picture of their domestic studio life, doesn't it?
It really does.
It speaks volumes about the unpretentious trust that forms the bedrock of their collaboration. They aren't sitting around the studio in dark turtlenecks having exhausting, high-minded debates about the singularity and the death of human art.
Right, they're just normal people.
They are laughing about blood type compatibility, geeking out over the mineral composition of hot springs, and confessing they haven't learned an instrument because tennis practice takes up their weekends.
It's so wholesome.
This absolute normalcy, this profound mundanity, is the safety net that allows them to take such wild experimental risks in their music. You can only survive jumping off a cliff into the uncharted territory of human AI co-creation if you have supreme confidence that there is a solid, completely ordinary ground to land on when the session is over.
A completely ordinary ground. Love that. We have traversed an incredible landscape today, so what does this all mean?
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We started by examining a workflow where artists train neural networks to clone their past selves, generating digital ghosts to sing their demos. We dissected the maddening process of having an algorithm hallucinate an arrangement, rejecting it, and then ripping the digital stems apart to painfully replay them by hand just to preserve the human micro-timing of a groove.
It's a journey.
We dug into the uncanny valley of simulated passion and explored the psychological architecture of the sad, bop-using, driving 80s pico-pico synths to deliver the crushing weight of human moratorium. And finally, we traced all of this avant-garde experimentation back down to earth, anchoring it in the loud, quiet, loud dynamics of the Pixies, the sulfur springs of Nobuo Uematsu, and the geometric discipline of a tennis court.
It presents a highly compelling, somewhat unexpected vision of our creative future.
What do you see?
The prevailing anxiety is that artificial intelligence will render human artistry obsolete because the machine can achieve technical perfection in seconds. But as AI models become exponentially better at mimicking passion, at executing flawless arrangements, and at demonstrating infinite technical skill, what EeL's workflow suggests is that technical perfection will simply become commodified.
Commodified.
When every single person on Earth has access to an algorithm that can sing perfectly and arrange flawlessly, perfection itself loses its cultural currency.
So if perfection is cheap, what actually retains value?
Our flaws, our bizarre, illogical contradictions. The true hallmark of human art in the coming decades won't be our technical talent or our ability to execute a flawless performance.
Right.
The hallmark of human art will be our specific, unreproducible lived experiences. It will be our capacity for lethargy. It will be the weird, obsessive dedication of watching the exact same absurd comedy channel every day for 5 years. It will be our ability to choose emotional restraint in a digital landscape that is screaming with synthetic, mathematically optimized passion.
Wow.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to explore long after this deep dive ends. Consider the architecture of your own life. What is your personal moratorium? What is that highly specific, uniquely yours blend of subtle sadness, joy, and daily, fearfully mundane routine?
That's a great question.
Because whatever that combination is, that quiet, complicated, messy, contradictory reality, that is the one thing an algorithm, no matter how advanced, could never, ever replicate.
That is a profound reality to sit with. Thank you all so much for joining us and diving into this fascinating collision of humanity, lethargy, and technology. Keep looking closely at the art you consume, listen for the human flaws, and we will catch you next time.